Friday night. That means it's time for the Don Tony Show.
You've waited all week, and now it's finally here. Get Don Tony's perspective on current affairs in the world of pro wrestling and beyond.
And now, your host, the man, the legend, Don Tony. Don Tony. Oh yeah, the cream rises to the top. SmackDown went plop. Did you like all the surprises? The SmackDown after WrestleMania? Holy shit. You want to know how much I liked SmackDown tonight? Look at my seltzer bottle. See how empty it is? This show is going to be so fast that I don't need a whole bottle of liquid. Holy shit. We'll talk about it. What's up, everybody? It's Friday night, April 16, 2021. This is the Don Tony Show. I am Don Tony, as always. Thank you very much for tuning in. For everybody who is live with me now, especially, thank you for spending a little bit of your Friday night with yours truly. Tonight, we're going to talk about SmackDown. Tonight, we're going to talk about all the surprises that happened in SmackDown. And we'll do the AEW NXT Quarter Hour Ratings. Yesterday, on Ask DT AMA, we talked about all the releases in detail. There are some additional releases planned. They basically held off for today. Okay. A lot of people think it's going to circle around some talents in NXT. I heard a couple of additional names off the main roster as well. But I have to open up with something. I mean, I know the big news outside of wrestling today was some jabroni that picked up some bobcat and threw it across the driveway. That's balls of steel. I mean, the guy looked like an absolute geek nerd, but the bobcat went after his family. First of all, what is a bobcat doing running around like a casual neighborhood like that? But, you know, tonight you have a ton of pussies on social media thinking they're tweeting like bobcats, like strong. Well, we got a strong. Kevin Dunn, Billie Kay. Anybody that tuned in last night already heard me show a lot of respect towards Billie Kay, the person. I made everybody take notice that of all the wrestlers inside the business, especially the women, they spoke out the most about Billie Kay and how wonderful of a person she is, a bright part of the locker room, just everything about her is sunshine. And, you know, you took notice that 95% of the attention was on her and 5% was on Peyton Royce, her iconic tag team partner forever. And that's a little bit unfair for Peyton Royce, obviously. But, Jesus, fightful. And again, you know, you can't, you got to stop taking these websites that everything they write is gospel. They don't like Vince McMahon. They don't like WWE. They like to put bullshit out there sometimes. Some of the stuff reported is accurate, but some of it is not. This is the thing. It's not only first person news or second person news. This is third person, fourth person, fifth person. This is not Billie Kay saying it. This is not somebody who's involved with Billie Kay. This is not a roommate of Billie Kay. This is a friend of a friend of a friend who wrestled with Billie Kay. And they say, oh, Kevin Dunn didn't see anything in Billie Kay. Didn't see what was good. She had a ceiling. And the internet today, oh my God, I didn't think I would bring it back, but holy shit, triggered. I'm going to take everybody. Now, I don't like Kevin Dunn. You look at him, he reminds me of Bruce Mitchell, especially with those teeth. You ever look at Bruce Mitchell and look at Kevin Dunn? They look like brothers from the same mother. I'm not a fan of Kevin Dunn. But for every person who wrote these catchy tweets trying to throw shade at Kevin Dunn, trying to be like, who the fuck's this guy know? He's the same person that said that about Becky Lynch. Again, I don't like Kevin Dunn. And then I love the goofs out there that say, I'm not going to be one of those that's going to get into this Kevin Dunn argument. Then why the fuck are you tweeting about it in the first place? That's why. Here's where I take all this bitching about Kevin Dunn tonight, and I'm sorry, shooting holes, more holes than Swiss Lorraine. When people are saying, blue check marks included, that Kevin Dunn held Billie Kay down, please, everyone, find me a website. Find me somewhere, someone that's established to tell me how was he holding her down. Did he tell her, when you go out in a match, while everybody else is taking a normal back bump, when you get kicked, you flail like a fish? She is not good in the ring. She's been wrestling for 14 years, not 14 months, not 5 years, 14 years. You don't hire her because she's a wonderful person in the locker room. She's going to be missed, and she's a bright spot. But please, separate the good person. Let me tell you something. There is a ton of wonderful, beautiful people out there in the pro wrestling world that will never step into a WWE locker room because they can't wrestle a lick. She became close friends with a lot of people in WWE. She was a good person. She still is a good person. She cheered everybody up, but that's not why she was hired. When all these people say, Kevin Dunn held her back, please tell me how. Well, look at the storyline they gave her. They split up the Iconics. My God, when the Iconics got the tag titles, 90% of the net were like, are you fucking kidding me? Bayley and Sasha Banks? No, we give it to the Iconics. What do they see? Split it. How is he holding her back? Please, somebody. Nobody wants to say that. That's why I fucking hate Twitter. I'd rather be a lone wolf and just hang out with all of you here than write those catchy bullshit things on Twitter. Oh, I love his tweets. They're epic. They speak this. These people talk in sound bites. They're living in sound bites. I'm not against Billie Kay, but nobody's going to tell me that she was decent in the ring. She was terrible. And after 14 years, and no, you don't have live crowds right now, and they split up the Iconics, and we talked about it yesterday. Everything we said yesterday is spot on. Do you see Meltzer today? Even Meltzer said he thinks Mojo Rawley would be fit, in Japan possibly. And even Tucker. Yesterday we got in this whole thing about Tucker, that his best place might be to go to Japan and totally transform himself. But do you notice all of these websites that got into every person who was released? Kalisto, go to AAA. And his friend's promotion that started. Oh, Tucker, New Japan. Oh, Peyton Royce, probably be great in AEW. Mickey James could see her in NWA, maybe in AEW. Every person, people were like, this bit here. Tell me where they suggested the Billie Kay would go. I mean, come on. I'm not against her, but let's be a little realistic for a minute. How did Kevin Dunn hold her back? If Kevin Dunn said he sees a ceiling in Billie Kay, duh? I mean, not too many people in wrestling go past that ceiling. Brass ring, whatever you want to call it. But this outrage to the point where Twitter even takes note of all of this whining and triggered people out there that they trend that comment. That fans are in an uproar because Kevin Dunn said he sees a ceiling in Billie Kay. Even Twitter is laughing at you at your expense. Not you, as far as most of you tuning in, but for the people out there this applies to. Even they're using you for hits. God, man, give me a break. Give me a break. Kevin Dunn held her back. How? 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 Am I wrong? We needed filler tonight. Because honestly, I'm not going to lie to you, man. SmackDown sucked. It sucked. The only thing to me that did not suck on SmackDown today, I'm biting my tongue for saying this. You got to admit, this guy knocked it out of the park. Pat McAfee did an awesome job tonight. And when Mish and I talked on Monday and said, why does WWE insist on a 3-person announce team? You realize tonight that Corey Graves and Byron Saxton, just those two, nothing against Adnan Virk, but he does, so far, he feels like a guy who is coming from a different profession that maybe was a casual wrestling fan, but doesn't know shit about it, doesn't have charisma. He commentates like he's calling a baseball game. Even some of his reactions, you see the replay they showed tonight with Charlotte attacking Rhea Ripley, and they put his voice on there. He sounded like somebody recapping on SportsCenter, because on SportsCenter, the only time you would get really, 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 really loud with baseball is with a home run. Back, out of here. But when you're just calling a game, strike 3 call, you're not going to be like, strike 3 call. Adnan Virk, Pat McAfee, are two guys that never commentated wrestling before. And Pat McAfee even admitted doesn't know the names of a lot of moves. And nobody gave a shit. The guy has natural charisma. The guy has energy. The guy has excitement. There is no reason, after watching this tonight, there is no reason why WWE insists on having a 3-man team on Monday nights. I could see with the extra hour that if they gave somebody a break, because I think Mish and I even talked about this on Patreon a month ago. I said, what if wrestling did similar to what baseball does? That you have 2 commentators calling the baseball game, and then when it gets to like the 4th inning, one of the commentators like goes on like a 2-3 inning break, relaxes in the back, smokes a cigarette, have a coffee, just chills for a little bit, and then comes back for like the 6th or the 7th inning. I could see if one of the commentators left for an hour, and they just basically just kept it fresh for 3 hours. There is no reason. There is no reason for it. And I have nothing against Adnan Virk. He did not do a bad job tonight. The problem is Pat McAfee just showed everybody, you put these two side by side, it's not even close. Pat McAfee has energy, excitement, as a wrestling fan. But he knows his spots and knows his roles. Adnan Virk, nothing against him. I don't think he is needed at all. And I don't know, how does he improve? Is he a little bit smoother? What was so bad about Vic Joseph on Raw then? What was so bad about some of the other commentators that they needed to switch? Tell me where Adnan Virk is going to surpass them. Is he going to start talking about the moves like Joey Styles used to do and name drop everything? Is he there as an analyst? I don't think pro wrestling wants an analyst to make us feel like we're watching baseball or boxing or UFC. You can't break it down the same way. You can't break it down the same way. Bring back Todd Grisham. James Edward, you're funny. You're funny. Shout out to Philip Maffey. He's surprised WWE did not do more cuts today. Well, they were basically keeping the focus on SmackDown today. There were supposed to be some cuts today. I know some people were reporting cuts today. Yes, there were some releases planned today. And I'll be honest with you, I feel bad for a few names that are being thrown around. Not the hope list that a lot of goofs have out there. And unfortunately, some of the names on people's hope list, may end up happening as well. But I feel bad for those people that actually have to, go to sleep tonight. And I know you're going to say, oh, they've made crazy money, DT. Compared to us, we make chub change. They can afford, a little bit of uneasiness. I understand that. But basically the focus tonight was on SmackDown. I tell you, the lack of no surprises, no miraculous returns. Jesus Christ, the first two matches they announced tonight was Rey Mysterio against Otis and the Street Profits against Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler. And I'm saying to myself, that's the same goddamn shit they've been doing for the last 4 or 5 weeks to justify all these teams battling it out to try to go up against Roode and Ziggler. That's what they opened up with. I don't know. No Becky Lynch. No NXT stars showing up. No substantial returns. Yes, they are teasing what you and I talked about. And to be fair, a lot of other podcasts talked about as well. Cesaro versus Roman Reigns. And if you remember when we talked about it the night of WrestleMania, and we talked about it earlier this week, the one thing that we said is they're not giving up Cesaro versus Seth Rollins yet. So tonight they teased that Cesaro wants Roman Reigns. I have no problem with that storyline. Not that Cesaro's winning the belt. That's not happening. But I still have no problem with Cesaro feuding with Roman Reigns because, number one, I know it's going to be good. And number two, if this overall elevates Cesaro to more main event category and stays there, that's the most important thing. We thought WWE was doing it with Nakamura in January, and I know I repeat it every week, but we nailed that. And a lot of you out there nailed it as well. When we felt like Nakamura started getting this big run in January, and everybody was crediting Daniel Bryan. Oh, look, he's the one responsible, and look what they're doing Nakamura now. We're like, finally. And then we were like, oh, shit, the Royal Rumble's coming up. As soon as the Royal Rumble goes, so does Nakamura's push, just like they did years ago with a lot of others. And that's exactly what happened. Does it really feel that Nakamura is in the main event title hunt? No. And that sucks. And I fear that it's the same shit here. And let me tell you something. I actually was going to spin around 6 times during the show tonight with my chair. But I realized tonight, because I'm extremely exhausted, by the time I got to number 2, spinning around my chair, I was dizzy. How many fucking times did they show the UFO tonight? We loved the UFO. We talked about it tonight in Mania. He did it a year ago. But it was pre-show, so we're not supposed to remember that. He's done it in the past. Morishima is the most infamous one he did it with. Cesaro is a freak of nature, and that's a compliment. But they replayed that tonight 6 goddamn times. 6. I don't want to fucking see the move now. When you show it too many times, when Michael Cole actually said, when we come back from commercial, we're going to show the one most spectacular moment of all WrestleMania. I'm thinking to myself, oh, maybe when Sasha and Bianca were crying a little bit. Maybe when Bianca was on the shoulders of Montez Ford after she won the title. Or maybe it was, the three-way. No, it was the fucking UFO. My God. It's a special move, but WWE, stop. Stop, man. Unnecessary. Unnecessary flying opponent tonight. My God. Yes, Brian. Bad Bunny. Funny how they completely, Bad Bunny is like... And you know why they probably didn't spend time on that today? Because Pat McAfee just finished telling the net that, in his opinion, he's better than Bad Bunny. And I really think he believes that in his head. Not a bad argument to put Pat McAfee over Bad Bunny. For me, though, I put Bad Bunny over Pat McAfee. But, come on. You know what that felt like tonight when they showed it that many times? It felt like something else was supposed to go down on SmackDown tonight, and they needed to eat up some time. And when you look at the overall SmackDown tonight, there were not that many matches. There were not that many matches. In fact, let's just go bang through it. But before I do that, Philip Maffey, like I said, expect a few more cuts. I'm hoping that it's very few. I'm not going to lie. I saw some people tonight. If you had a webcam in their house, they were like sitting at a dinner table with like a big bib around their neck, drooling. More Rasta cut yet? I don't know if you could see. I actually have a little towel. I could shoot spit from the bottom of my thing. Like Stu Hart when he used to. Any Rasta cuts announced tonight? Any people get fired tonight? And these are the same goofs that'll write on social media earlier. We should not celebrate people losing their jobs. What's wrong with these people, man? Worry about your own jobs. Jesus. Oh, crazy cruiserweight. Big fuck you. Now I got to mention it. Congratulations, Jason, on 700 Solomonster Sounds Off episodes. You're only 5,832 behind me. Good for you, Jason. Wonderful Facebook page. Love the royal treatment that I get there. Oh, wonderful. Hey, everybody. I don't even know what episode I'm on. Did we ever celebrate episode 50? Now, before people start giving a thumbs down, I'm being sarcastic right now. Congrats to Jason Solomonster. 700 is a big, big number. This guy's been doing it since 2006 or 2007, and he is committed. He gives a shit about all of his followers. He works his ass off, all of you out there, and he does everything hands-on, with the exception of the Facebook page, let's be honest. Jason's good people, man. I finally got the opportunity to meet him 2 years ago when everybody got together for Lucky 13. And no bullshit. When I walked up to him, took my hand out, the first words out of his mouth is, "So why do we hate each other?" And we were laughing. Because for some reason, and look, I said this back in 1997, a lot of people out there like real life arguments. For them, that's more entertaining than wrestling storylines they see out on TV. So they'd rather see real life drama. They'll sit there with the popcorn and they'll watch everybody rip each other down. And then when it's the right time, they'll tweet, "Oh, can everybody just get along?" Meanwhile, they're sitting there looking for the sequel and the prequel and the whatever. So congrats to Jason, man. He works his ass off. He's good people. So I'm very happy for him. Really happy for him. I'm really happy that, he's been around this long. So he definitely deserves everything he gets. And I hope one day he gets a job with AEW and WWE. Seriously. This way his fucking podcast can end. And all those people that tune it. I'm kidding. I'm joking, man. I'm joking. He's good people. Seriously. One of the good guys in the business, podcasting and everything. Guy's truly committed. And a wonderful person behind the scenes. I know he's had some tragedy in his life, but, one thing about him, when I say to some of you out there who have experienced tragedies over the years, passing of a parent, I always say, and I've done that with my grandmother since 1991, you celebrate your family, even if they pass on. First of all, you'll see them again, you'll meet up with them again one day, but you keep their legacy alive. You know, I can't tell you how many times I have family members that once in a while will say to me, "That's your grandmother talking." Because they see little things that I do or I say and gestures, because my grandmother was one of the most giving people around. My mother's the same way. I have a lot of the generosity from my mom, and I have that work ethic that everybody says I have. I got that from my dad. My dad's got a cut open like this 3 months ago, 3 months ago, and the guy is moving around, forcing himself to try to, like, you know, as if he's 40 years old. So, you know, you could tell he's keeping his family's legacy alive, and they live through him now. Really good guy. Seriously. Wonderful man. No joke. So, let's talk a little bit about SmackDown. SmackDown, we find out earlier in the day, because we really did not know what the announced team was going to be on SmackDown. I thought possibly Corey Graves working double duty, because you need that wise-ass catalyst. They found it in Pat McAfee. Now, I'm going to say one thing. I'm going to repeat one thing that I said yesterday about the releases. And this has to do with Samoa Joe. The one thing that I reiterated yesterday a couple of times, and I stressed, is that we don't know the reasons why some people were released. Yes, I know budget cuts was the overall excuse. But the thing with Samoa Joe is he still has some wrestling years left in him inside the ring. And he's getting up there in age. And before you know it, your career is over. And he's had some concussions, history of concussions. And in this day and age, concussions are not like what it was 20 years ago that you just shrug it off. Take an aspirin. Get a good night's sleep, or try to. All right, so you don't know if WWE wanted him to remain as a commentator and he wanted to wrestle. And WWE says, no, we don't want to bring you back in the ring. Look how paranoid they are over the years when somebody gets injured. I mean, look at Alexa Bliss. I think a lot of people forget that one of the reasons why Alexa Bliss is more of a personality than actual wrestler is because some of the head injuries she's had. And they are very careful about that. That's a good thing. But the thing with Samoa Joe is you don't know exactly what transpired. And my gut feeling is that Samoa Joe wants to wrestle again. WWE said no. He left on good terms. And I think once his in-ring career is over, Samoa Joe will be back in the WWE, will do commentating, and we will have years and years and years of enjoyment of his commentary and his style years to come. But for now, you, me, everyone out there, we have no right to dictate how Samoa Joe's next bunch of years should be. Not even WWE should dictate that. That should be in the control of Samoa Joe. But if Samoa Joe enjoyed the commentating and still wanted to commentate, and WWE let him go because they were paying him as a wrestler and they didn't want to pay him that kind of money as a commentator, what I say to you is, you think Pat McAfee did this for $10 an hour? You think Pat McAfee is doing this on the cheap because, as he said, it was his lifelong dream? This is a business. That's what people, I think, sometimes forget. Yeah, it does seem very cold and fucked up that you let people go. But, again, no disrespect intended for some people out there. I know their heart is in the right place. But when you have $1 billion company and they have record profits, you do not, as a business, as a publicly traded company, when investors, stockholders, and just common sense logic, you don't turn around and say, you know, we're having such a record profit. Let's keep 15 people on the payroll because it's the right thing to do. That's the same thing as saying, you know what, let me walk into Walmart because they're having record profits. Let me get that TV for free. Yeah, no, you should do a sale one day, you know, it's 2021. Everything in the store is $20.21 for 20 minutes and 21 seconds. Just because you have record profits, you're supposed to throw money away and waste it? WWE has too many people on their roster, and they want to make their profits even bigger, because anything can happen a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. Trust me, I remember the Monday Night Wars. I lived through it and started doing my wrestling hotline in 1997. If you would have said in 1998 that 3 years later WCW would be out of business, I would have said, please, here's my home address. Send me whatever drugs you're on. Please, just package it nice and discreetly so I don't get in trouble. I'm not saying WWE is going to be as careless. They don't have Hogan's, Halls, and Nash. I'm not discrediting them, but there was a lot of big politics going on and too much creative control. You don't have that now. But the point is, this is how business goes. That's it. It's not fun to have to let people go. But again, if you're going to bring back Ronda Rousey, if you're going to bring back Becky Lynch, you're going to bring back Brock Lesnar, you're going to sign this person, seriously. When you see all the hype for WrestleMania, even afterwards, was anybody that was on that list, did you feel that a couple of months from now, they might get momentum and get a shot at something? There's nobody on that list that you felt that way about. The hell were they doing with Kalisto? What the hell were they doing with Mojo Rawley? Mickie James, it sucks how they used her, but that should be no surprise. Samoa Joe is really the only one that shocked everybody. Billie Kay and Peyton Royce was more because people realized how wonderful they are as people. And when you see good-hearted people lose their job, especially something that they love, you feel absolutely terrible for them. But again, all of these people that voiced out earlier about Kevin Dunn and Billie Kay, please tell me how he held her back. Tell me what he did that made her wrestle like crap, subpar, for the last bunch of years, has not improved. They did the storyline when she's walking around in a resume. Did she fit in as a Riot Squad? Why? Because she dressed like that when she was younger? Do you really want her to be in that position? Tell me where she would have fit in. Tell me what would have been the perfect role where she could have been. And then you tell me, Kevin Dunn said, no. Everybody in creative was in meetings as far as who should be on the cutting block. So when you turn around and you put all the blame on Kevin Dunn, you got to put the blame on Tyson Kidd, you got to put the blame on Adam Pearce, you got to put the blame on Vince McMahon, you got to put the blame on Triple H, you got to put the blame on Stephanie McMahon, you got to put the blame on everybody. And people don't do that. Selective outrage. And look, that's the reason why, we don't get, the attention that everybody else does, because people like to play with people's hearts and their strings. I'd rather be, common sense about it. We feel bad for some of them, but, that's life and that's business. That's business. Anyway, SmackDown opens up. Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, Paul Heyman. Roman looking back. Gonna get very humble at Jay Carlos in a minute. Roman Reigns is giving us a little bit of a recap from WrestleMania that he called his shot like Babe Ruth. And he says, nobody wants to step up and face Roman Reigns. Nobody. And Cesaro comes out. Before Cesaro could say anything, and keep looking down at Jay Carlos. Much love, my friend. I'll get into you in a second. Before Cesaro could even cut a promo, Roman Reigns just walks away. I loved it. Roman Reigns doesn't take Cesaro seriously. It's a little awkward to see Paul Heyman do that because we know Cesaro's a Paul Heyman guy. But later on, Paul Heyman cuts a promo, and it was funny because there's some guy on a ladder, like behind him. Yeah, at the time, we're like, what is that? But Paul Heyman saying that at WrestleMania, it wasn't raining. It was the angels crying because of what Roman Reigns did to Edge and what Roman Reigns did to Daniel Bryan. But then he walked in the back, and he walked through puddles, and it wasn't rain. It was the angels still crying because Cesaro had to stoop so low to fight a guy. I think he even said Cesaro's buck teeth, but $1 million body, 10-cent brain. And I'm saying, yeah, that's the Braun Strowman line over there. But I like that they're going to set up Cesaro versus Roman Reigns. But the problem I had with SmackDown tonight with this is this was one of the, if not the laziest episode of SmackDown that I've seen in years. Were there SmackDown episodes worse? Sure. Were the matches really bad tonight? Well, Natty versus Shayna Baszler was nothing. Rey Mysterio versus Otis was kind of nothing. Everything else was fine, albeit 2 or 3 matches. But the reason why I say tonight's SmackDown was the laziest SmackDown I've seen in years is because it's this first SmackDown after WrestleMania. You had virtually no surprises on Monday. The Viking Raiders and Retribution turning on Drew. No surprises. So not only do you have no surprises, but you give us 2 matches that is the same shit we've seen for 5 weeks. Like I said, in Otis versus Rey Mysterio, which originally was supposed to be a tag match, and then they changed it to one-on-one. And then you give us Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode versus the Street Profits. Then on top of it, you give Natty and Shayna Baszler, which went almost next to nothing. Oh, and by the way, how did Natty win? The fruit roll-up. You're starting to see it now, right? They have, and for anybody that's newer to the shows, we picked up on this about 2 months ago. AEW is doing it like crazy. WWE is doing it like crazy. And I'm sorry for repeating myself. And look, there's nothing wrong with roll-ups. It's happened for decades. But what they're doing now, and that's why I call it the fruit roll-up, is when they want someone who is established, many times a champion, but somebody who is established, and they want that person to lose, but they don't want that person to lose to someone else's finisher. What they will go to is the cheap inside cradle, the cheap roll-up. It's the first one that people really notice is when Santana and Ortiz got their first ever tag title shot in AEW after a year and a half. They lost with an inside cradle. You've had Jon Moxley lose to an inside cradle. You've had Kenny Omega lose to an inside cradle. You've had champions in WWE losing the inside cradles. Now, if you pay attention to it, you will see it. They've done it with Shayna Baszler. They've done it with Nia Jax. They've done it with others. And they did it again tonight. Because they don't want Shayna Baszler, who's a champion, to eat Natty's sharpshooter, no, they'll do the fruit roll-up instead. It is such a lazy, cheap way out. But here's the worst part of SmackDown tonight. They tease early on, we're going to get Cesaro versus Roman Reigns. Cesaro wants a match with Roman Reigns. Sonya Deville says, all right, I'll talk to Roman Reigns about it, which kind of was stupid. But fine. But then they tease that if Cesaro versus Roman Reigns is going to happen tonight, it was going to happen towards the end of hour number 1, not hour number 2. So now I'm thinking to myself, all right, I don't know if I actually want to see this match so quickly on SmackDown, but if it ends in a schmaz, this could lead to Adam Pearce making an announcement that Cesaro versus Roman Reigns at the next pay-per-view. But what ends up happening is the same goddamn shit they did with Daniel Bryan, with Kevin Owens. They kind of did it with Edge. Instead of Roman Reigns in there, Jey Uso, main event Uso, Same shit Uso. And it's not his fault. I like Jey Uso. I think they actually have done a good job making him feel relevant as a singles wrestler. But once again, Kevin Owens has got to wrestle Jey Uso in the main event of SmackDown. And Daniel Bryan's got to wrestle against Jey Uso in the main event against SmackDown numerous times. Oh, Edge has got to face Jey Uso in the main event. It's the same recycled shit over and over and over and over and over. And if I had $1 every time Jey Uso loses in these matches, I would still be $90 short of what Jay Carlos was so generous to send for yours truly. Much love. But come on, man. It's this. Nothing tonight felt fresh. Bianca Belair, they kind of, in my opinion, kind of fucked her character up a little bit too. Now, we're all very happy for Bianca Belair, and she's earned it. And we talked about it on Wednesday, how awesome it was to see Bianca and Raquel Gonzalez and Rhea Ripley a year and a half ago compared to now. But when she comes out there and says, I'm not cocky, I believed it all along. I'm not cocky. I mean, stop. She's a role model. She's a good person. Everybody likes her. You don't have to turn her into, a nun. That she's just everything about her where she should be, enshrined. You could be cocky. You could say, no, just softening her up. I don't know. This was the laziest SmackDown for the SmackDown after Mania. And you have no surprises on top of it. No turns. Well, you teasing Nia and Shayna kind of like arguing with each other. That should have happened a month before WrestleMania. Jay Carlos, the show is great. He has something to say about those WWE releases. The only family in the WWE is the McMahons. Yeah. I mean, that is true. That is true. And at the end of the day, they treat it as a business. And you don't feel like some people stay on the payroll strictly because of, just it's the right thing to do. That's not how business works. That's not how publicly trade. Do you imagine on a publicly, all these Yahoo Finance and Motley Fool and all these other like expert finance sites, and they start reporting the quarter numbers and this and that, and they do a conference call, and an investor says, Vince, you got 25, 30 people you haven't used in 6 months. Why are these people still on the payroll? Well, we're in the COVID. Wait, I know I can imperson. We're in COVID. It's the right thing to do. I mean, look at Tony Khan. See, if I have a long conversation as Vince McMahon, I don't sound like Vince McMahon. But if I do 2-3 words, shut up! Now it sounds like him a little bit. You're fired! I got to start doing Johnny Ace again. I used to do Johnny Ace perfectly. But at the end of the day, no. You're an entertainer. You're not a counselor. You're not a what do they call those pets? Comfort pets? Is that what they're called? What do they call the pets you're allowed to bring on the plane because it makes you feel good? Is it a comfort dog? It's like comfort something. Billie Kay wasn't a comfort dog that made everybody feel better backstage. What do they call that? I know we got like a 7-second delay over here. Trust me, nothing is censored. I don't know why the servers are done this way, but we've had therapy animals, emotional support pets. Okay. You don't hire support pets because it makes the roster feel good, because this person brightens up all the women's days. Shit. I've worked in businesses that I had close friends lose their jobs, and it hurt. But at the end of the day, don't worry about my own job. Chelsea Green, and I said it yesterday, that's the one that confuses me more than anything. But, I challenge everyone out there, take a pen and paper and write down all of the women in Raw, SmackDown, NXT. And then you tell me how many people that are elevated, more elevated than her right now, that have had championships, fighting for championships, that she's going to leapfrog over the next 6 months or so. There's about 10 to 15 women that even if Chelsea Green becomes the number one search term on Twitter, Chelsea Green is not going to leapfrog Sasha Banks, Bayley, Bianca Belair, Charlotte, Asuka, Ronda Rousey, Rhea Ripley, Io Shirai, Raquel Gonzalez. Where does she fit in? She's going to end up, like I said, yes, if she was left on the roster and she could return, she would be eating pins over and over and over again. Let Chelsea Green prosper in a company where she could be the number 1, 2, 3, even 4th women's wrestler on the roster ranked. So if every promotion did their top 5, Chelsea Green would be in the top 5, maybe in AEW, MLW, NWA, Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor is trying to repair their women's division. Let her prosper for another company, and then when some of these wrestlers in WWE right now who are 40, they get to 44 and 45, and their career more likely is going to be winding down or done, then you could bring her back. Right place, wrong time. When Dixie Carter, nice for her to do that, but when she even writes the tweet yesterday, I'm totally baffled why they would let go of Chelsea Green. I swear I was so tempted, but I don't want to tweet anymore. I was so tempted to write back to her and give her 20 names on the WWE roster and say she's going to leapfrog these women. Even if she set them all up and planted narcotics in all their bags and they all got fired. It's not happening. The best, and I feel bad for him, the best is Tucker today. He's itching to talk. And he still, to this day, does not understand why they broke up Heavy Machinery. I like Tucker. Remember, I thought Tucker would fit in nicely with Retribution early on, before the goofy masks and everything else. But, if Tucker does not understand that everybody and their mother was saying at the time, they see Otis as the single star. Otis is the Shawn Michaels. Tucker, unfortunately, is the Marty Jannetty. I mean, this guy's been off social media, I think, a little bit too long. To this day, I don't understand why they broke up Heavy Machinery. Well, maybe because I know, before anybody says anything, well, they got Otis as a tag team right now with Chad Gable. That's more for Chad Gable than anything else. But, I mean, this guy doesn't understand. Good for him to see himself having that much net worth. But Otis, he will turn back to babyface when we get live fans back in attendance. You will see Otis turn back to a babyface. Otis is meant to be a single star. So, we think we're going to get Roman Reigns versus Cesaro. Paul Heyman cuts a promo, dissing Cesaro, talking about, the Angels crying at Mania, and Cesaro says that tonight Cesaro is going to take on Jey Uso. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to burp or cough. That's piggy. I'm like, give me a break, man. That's the same template they did for all the wrestlers I said earlier. The same fucking template. Then you start realizing, I guess Becky Lynch isn't coming back tonight. I guess there's no chance of Brock Lesnar. Some people thought Io Shirai could possibly show up. Maybe an NXT star. People were wondering, Roderick Strong like I did. Or maybe Adam Cole or something. Nothing. So we got pretty much the same crap. Oh, VJ, you're very welcome. Quest bars are pretty good. They're pretty good. But I will admit, over the last 3 or 4 weeks, I gained 5 pounds. Because I started eating too many Quest bars and chocolate and stuff. And, it's keto, but, when you have a little piece of chocolate like this, that's like 300 calories, and you gulp it in like 2 bites, have 5 of them, and you start putting on the poundage. So, So now we realize we're going to get Cesaro versus Jey Uso tonight, and it's going to be the main event of SmackDown. So right away, everybody's thinking Seth Rollins interference, blah. Even though they're not going to tease any alliance, Shield alliance right now with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. They're not doing that. I'm looking at the recap over here. So we have Otis versus Rey Mysterio. Match was fun while it lasted, but it was only a couple of minutes at the most. And here I'm thinking, okay, WrestleMania is over. I know they still want to have Dominic and Rey win the tag titles, but I thought, okay, Otis versus Rey, Rey doesn't need the rub right now. Even if it ends with a disqualification, no. We get Rey Mysterio with the 619. Then he jumps off the second turnbuckle and actually does a crucifix and pins Otis. Now, see, this is what I loved about Pat McAfee. Even if it was fed into him, he's like, Otis, 315 pounds, which is a lot more than 315, but Otis, with his weight against him with the crucifix. Now, I think the reason why, and who just said it with the video game? I think it was John. And yes, it was the roll-up. Well, it was technically a crucifix, but it was a roll-up. Yeah, the fruit roll-up. We put it in fruit roll-up category. But you have that video game coming out. Was it 2K22? I got to tell you, the graphics are insane. I mean, I know they just keep showing Rey and Cesaro on the video, but if you're not paying close attention to the TV and you're kind of looking in the corner, you would not realize that that's a video game. I mean, that's how realistic it looks. And the fact that they're focusing on Rey that much kind of makes even more sense why they're probably going to put the tag titles on them. VJ's asking me, when do I think Dominic will turn on Rey? Not anytime soon. I thought at one point Dominic would have been interesting to have him turn heel and join up with Seth Rollins when Seth was still doing the God shit. But now Seth is more like a cheap, televangelist trying to rip off people. That's the persona it feels like. I don't think Dominic fits in with that right now. I want to thank Jay Carlos again for the very kind super chat. And just to say once again, the McMahons, that's the only family in WWE. I mean, look, the whole WWE is a family. But people need to understand that at the end of the day, people are hired there to be entertainers. They're not hired to be comfort dogs. If I work in any type of a business, if I work in Walmart, whether I work in the offices or I work on the floor, my job is to punch in and do my work at the best of my ability and punch out. And just because I'm the most liked person in the place, if I'm putting wrong price tags on the stickers and I'm fucking everything up and dropping everything everywhere, but everybody likes me, and I get fired, it's going to be an uproar? Come on. Let's be a little honest for a minute, right? Oh, yes. Absolutely, man. Roger Rubio wants to remind everyone, if you're enjoying the show, I would greatly appreciate it. I got to hide behind there. Smash that like button. The more you do it, more it tells YouTube that you enjoy the shows. Like, share, subscribe. So Otis loses to Rey Mysterio in a couple of minutes. A variation of the fruit roll-up. Not much there. Now, so far we've only had one match. And I remember looking at my clock and I said, wow, it's almost 8:40. And we had like a 2-minute match or 3-minute match with Rey Mysterio and Otis. 40 minutes in. Just 2-hour show. 1/3 of SmackDown was in the books. And 1/3 of SmackDown, the first third of SmackDown, we only had a 3-minute match with Rey Mysterio and Otis. Sami Zayn, he comes out, giving the recap of Mania also, feels he got screwed. And you know what? Look, I still don't like Logan Paul. I don't know much about him. I now know about some of the dirtbag shit he's done in the past. But today, he did the opposite of Machine Gun Kelly. Put over Mania, gave props to everybody there, even kept in sort of storyline with Kevin Owens. Logan Paul, I don't like him at all, but I respect the fact that he respected WWE enough and put his ego aside. And you do not get many celebrities that do that. Yeah, Logan Paul's a jerk-off. I'll say it bluntly. I don't like him. I mean, I never followed him, but you hear little things that go on. But you know what? At least he didn't, act like a jerk-off when it comes to WWE. But I don't think he'll be brought back anytime soon. So Sami Zayn wants Kevin Owens for a rematch tonight. Now, I'm not going to complain, Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. I love them working together. And everybody else out there knows, when you have two best friends battling it out, they're always going to, just subconsciously, it's instinct, they're going to turn it up a notch. They had an awesome match tonight, but I'm thinking to myself, all right, Sami Zayn tonight gets his win back. It's kind of like the right way to go with this. What happens? They're battling in the ring, and Sami Zayn's getting the worst of a bad situation. Sami Zayn basically says, "No, I'm done." And he gets counted out. Then he tries to attack Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens nails him with a stunner. And basically we're like, okay, Sami Zayn on the shit end of the stick once again. And here tonight, I honestly expected Sami Zayn to get the win. Did not happen. James Edwards says Jake Paul is in Snoop Dogg's Fight Club. Isn't Ric Flair going to be there also? I think there was something about Ric Flair going to be there too. But I'm baffled tonight. Sami Zayn, it's the storyline feels like, now you know what's going to happen. Someone else is going to come out there and laugh at Sami Zayn, maybe in catering or walking back past each other in the back, and that's going to lead to the next feud. That's where it seems like it's going. Somebody's just going to go up to Sami Zayn, you're not getting a break or laughing at what's happening to him. Insta-feud, Acme Insta-feud. Apollo Crews, Dabba-Kato. I know this is bad. I feel like I got a Aziz. His name is Aziz, which rhymes with sneeze and disease. Wearing a Captain Crunch jacket, but I like Dabba-Kato. He is now a former member of the Nigerian Elite Guard, and Apollo Crews celebrating with, I feel like I got a Aziz. I think it's spelled A-Z-E-E-Z. Aziz. Look, I don't want to make fun of the jacket, because if that's really what the Nigerian Elite Guard wear, I think it's a pretty cool jacket. But I like Dabba-Kato with him. I don't know, just something about it fits. Dabba-Kato should be what Omos is with AJ Styles. And who knows, down the line, you might see Apollo Crews and Aziz win the tag belts. So, but no biggie there tonight. And no match with Apollo Crews tonight either. Cool moment tonight also. The Street Profits come out there. And, I'm thinking to myself, they're going to have the tag title match now? Not just yet. You got balloons in the ring. And I thought it was really nice that they allowed Montez Ford to introduce his wife, Bianca Belair, and have the Street Profits in the ring with Bianca Belair when she came out there and cut her celebratory promo. Some of what she said, softening up her character a little bit, I guess maybe that's necessary, especially since now we think Bayley might be going after her for the title. Sasha Banks still wants another shot. Now you got to think to yourself, if you haven't thought about it already, are we going to see Sasha Banks and Bayley return as a tag team? I think that could very well happen. They'll show animosity for each other at the beginning, but then they may do something like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. See, that's not how I go. For me, it's kind of the opposite. The friend of my enemy is an enemy also. But in that case, with them two, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So don't be surprised if Sasha and Bayley do reunite with each other a little bit. But Bianca Belair, she was confident. If you would have told her a year ago she'd be in WrestleMania, she says yes, I would have. Not because she's cocky, but because she's confident. And nice segment. And again, it was really cool to see, that they allowed Montez Ford to celebrate it, because there's a couple of moments behind the scenes that's floating around the net when she went backstage, and it's nice, man. I mean, there's even a segment, I think they were having like a pool party or something with her family, and you can't help but like that. But you know what? Dave Meltzer pointed out something that we kind of talked about yesterday, but I didn't think about it specifically, and now you look back on it, it's very interesting. With the exception of Charlotte and Andrade, a lot of wrestling. Oh, and Aleister Black and Zelina Vega, even though they're just a couple right now. WWE let go a lot of people whose significant others also were let go already. Quite a few people from yesterday had their significant others in WWE who were released not too long ago as well. But I'm sure you heard the news that Aleister Black, they are filming vignettes for his return. You and I already discussed a couple of ideas with Aleister Black. If they could have Alexa Bliss with a faction, that was something that I thought of outside the box. Maybe that would be an interesting pairing. I thought Aleister Black in NXT would be wonderful. Let's wait and see what they're going to do with Aleister Black. They're going to reintroduce him, and we'll see where it goes. I have a feeling it's going to remind me of a little bit of Raven, 1995. When Raven first came into ECW, after he did the Johnny Polo character in WWF, he was talking about his childhood and his upbringing and this and that. I have a feeling a lot of what you see with Aleister Black is going to remind some people of Raven circa 1995. I know when he went to WCW, they kind of tried to do that a little bit, but they made it more of the rich, family. I remember the pool segments and all that. But so after Bianca Belair's appearance, Kayla Braxton interviews Sasha Banks. They showed the mark on her waist, and it has gone away quite a bit. I honestly thought that they would have put makeup and really make it look, a lot worse than what it was, but they didn't. But Sasha Banks, very angry, storms off. Then Kayla Braxton interviews Bayley. Bayley says that she's going to restore dignity to the title, and she wants Bianca Belair. So that's where those two are right now. Dolph Ziggler and Montez Ford, they retain the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Basically what happened was Montez Ford hit the frog splash on Robert Roode. Dolph Ziggler broke up the pin attempt. Dolph Ziggler tagged himself in. Montez Ford did not see the legal tag. And as a result, he's going after Robert Roode, but Ziggler was the legal man. Ziggler hits the zigzag and gets the win. So the Street Profits, and I think a lot of people expected the Street Profits to win tonight, maybe to piggyback a little bit of Bianca Belair winning the championship. That was not the case. So they retained. As I said earlier, Natty beat Shayna Baszler 2 minutes with the fruit roll-up. Early on, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler seemed to be off page. And again, if you didn't tune into Monday, if anybody's still wondering why Reginald is not around, he is sick right now. We don't know if it's that. but he is sick. So the fact that he's still not on TV a week and a half later, and I tell you something, you got to think about this. Steve Cutler got COVID. Him and Wesley Blake were taken off TV as part of King Corbin's henchmen. COVID is not the reason why he was fired. None of his behavior was the reason either. But they never brought him back to TV after he was better. I'm not saying that's going to happen to Reginald, but sometimes you get taken off TV because of illness or injury, and when you're ready to return, there ain't no storyline for you. And you wait, and if you're not higher on the food chain, you could get released over it. That's what happens over the years to a bunch of people. Braun Strowman, that's an example of somebody who is much higher on the food chain, gets injured, comes back. They have really no storyline for him. So as a consolation, they gave him Shane McMahon for WrestleMania. In that out of nowhere storyline where you're stupid, Braun, all brawn, no brains. So right now, Reginald, ill. Reginald is talented with the Cirque du Soleil or whatever. I just don't see him in the big picture. Unless this guy is training his ass off to wrestle in the ring and is actually going to perform pretty good. I just don't see it. I don't see it. Would not be surprised if they change his storyline. I don't want to see anybody fired. But, you gotta, this, right now for him, getting sick was probably the worst thing that can happen to him. Because he lost his spot on Mania, was, and could be a snowball effect. So, Natty beats Shayna Baszler with the fruit roll-up, a little bit of distraction. Nia Jax climbed the ring. Shayna Baszler almost bumped into her, but Natty with the fruit roll-up. After that match is over, Nia Jax tries to get involved. Tamina nails her, knocks Nia on her ass. Natty and Tamina celebrate. I don't know. We might end up getting Natty and Tamina as tag champs after all. I know a lot of you are against that, but that was one of my hopes at WrestleMania. So we'll see what happens. All that's left after this, Jey Uso cutting the same promo with Roman and Paul Heyman in the back locker room, as he's done with Kevin Owens, as he's done with Edge, as he's done with Daniel Bryan. He's going to beat and he's going to whip Cesaro's ass. Didn't happen. Cesaro, with the Cesaro swing, and we're thinking that Cesaro's going to beat Jey Uso clean in the ring. Here comes Seth Rollins in the middle of the swing, causes the disqualification, and Seth Rollins walking up the rampway, I'm not finished with you until I'm finished with you. He's not done with him yet. And just cheap, lazy, cheap. No surprises, no swerves, no title changes, no, nothing. You would have never thought this would have been the first SmackDown after WrestleMania. And again, what really sucks about it is if they were going to have some surprises, they should have done it at Mania with live fans there so you can have that when you replay it over and over again, you hear that amazing energy from the WrestleMania fans who were there live. Now you got to pipe in shit. All the chants tonight with Roman Reigns, you suck, you suck, you suck. It's all piped in. It's not going to feel the same. And they're right back to where they were before. So, King of Hueco Mundo. There was a botch. Rollins was going to do a swinging neck breaker. It didn't work, so he hit Cesaro. Look, when Cesaro's in the middle of doing that swing, the timing is everything, and that's one thing and you've heard me say it before, and this is where Nia Jax has improved. Cesaro, Seth Rollins, almost everybody on that roster. Timing is everything. And if you're going to do a spot and the timing seems off, you don't do it. Look at Sheamus when he was going to do, I think, White Noise off the top rope with Riddle at Mania and was losing his balance and could have still tried to pull it off, but jumped off the rope, hit White Noise in the ring. All right, yeah, it was a little bit of a botch, but you're not going to take a chance of injuring someone. And that was the biggest problem with Nia Jax up to about 6 to 8 months ago. The timing would be off, and the other person was not in the right position at the time, and instead of ad-libbing, calling an audible and doing something else, she would still do what she was going to do. I remember the injury she gave to, I think it was Kairi Sane. And Kairi Sane was not exactly in the position, and she just went full speed ahead anyway and got injured. Ring being slippery, that could be it also. But, I actually would rather see, a spot not happen, and even if it looks like a botch, then someone literally saying, fuck it, tries to do it anyway, and then somebody seriously gets hurt. I don't want to mention any injuries in AEW, but there's 1 or 2 injuries that occurred that when you look at the replay, you could see that 2 people were not in the right position to take certain move, and their body parts get torn up as a result, if not broken. My hole, my butt, my hole. So that was SmackDown tonight. You know what was interesting? Anybody out there this week see websites report that Adam Pearce was going to address Roman Reigns' pin from WrestleMania? I'm curious, chat room. Did anybody see that? Some fans were trying to create some controversy. And I'll tell you, I actually give him a little credit for the creative idea. But if you go back and you watch Mania again, Roman Reigns took Edge and dumped Edge on top of Daniel Bryan, and then Roman Reigns got on top of Edge and pinned both of them. And what a lot of people were saying online is that because Edge was on top of Daniel Bryan and Daniel Bryan's shoulders were the one pinned, Edge should have been champion. Edge was the one that pinned Daniel Bryan, not Roman Reigns. And I think the reason why they're not focusing on that is because they don't want Edge versus Roman Reigns right now. Because if you follow that, Edge should come out there and immediately demand a rematch, that he should be champion right now. They're not going that route. Now, to be honest with you and to be fair, back when I was a kid, I saw numerous Andre the Giant matches. And I'm sure that there's a ton on YouTube as well. Andre the Giant would face 2 people, handicap match, and then Andre would have one flat on the mat, dump the other one on top of the other, and just splash on top of both of them. He wouldn't even sit on them. He would just sit up straight and pin both. And the second person underneath him would technically be pinning the person. So, Edge and Daniel Bryan were not on tonight. And again, this is why I hated the spot with Matt Hardy and Darby Allin Wednesday. If anybody did not tune into my show on Wednesday, the match was great. But one spot just really pissed me off. And Matt Hardy puts Darby Allin neck first in a steel chair and does the twist of fate with a steel chair. And in any other wrestling company, the match would have stopped. You would have had the stretcher job into the ambulance. They would have had The camera focused on people in the crowd doing the Britt Baker. Maybe even have a couple of younger fans crying, thinking that Darby Allin's neck was broken. But no, he kicks out at 2, and not even 30 seconds later, he's no-selling it. See what WWE did tonight? Edge Daniel Bryan Concerto, not even on TV. Not even on TV. So, speaking of AEW, we had some fun Wednesday. We all had a discussion that in a very short period of time, we predicted AEW was going to get 1.2 million viewers. I did not think it was going to happen this fast. I think I said 965 for AEW this week. They did 1.2 million, 19,000. 1,219,000. That is so impressive. And yes, Mike Tyson definitely is a big role behind that. But let me tell you why it's so impressive. And this is something WWE really does need to take notice of. You look at WWE and NXT when they went up against AEW. NXT increased their viewership unopposed by about 150,000 because they've been averaging middle sixes for the most part. So they increased their viewers by about 150,000 NXT on Tuesday. But because wrestling fans that watched NXT and AEW on Wednesday nights, or maybe just watched NXT on Wednesday nights, Wednesday night is still wrestling night for a lot of fans out there. And this is something that nobody talked about this week. AEW's viewership went up 500,000 in a lot of these quarters. 500,000. So when you realize WWE was unopposed and they went up 150,000, AEW unopposed went up 500,000, it wasn't just the Mike Tyson quarter hour and then they turned it off. That happened with Shaq. Shaq had his match, 250,000 viewers left. In the case of this, though, you're seeing a lot of NXT fans that decided to watch AEW Wednesday, but not a lot of AEW fans decided to watch NXT on Tuesday. Just wanted to point that out. So let's get into the quarter hour ratings. I'm going to still do them. They are very interesting. And do I think the numbers are going to stay this strong? No. It's not going to stay on this level. You had a lot of people who don't normally watch AEW watch Wednesday out of curiosity and out of some of the hype. So now, a week later, would not surprise me if they're back to around 1 million. I said that their median would be about 950. So I expect it to ease back then. And they may have to keep teasing big hypes. Look, I'm not going to spend too much time about it today. I'll do it on Wednesday. But I had a conversation with somebody who actually wrestles and had a dark match in AEW. We were having a conversation yesterday. And this guy reminded me that although not as much hardcore, but all of the car accidents and, the disarray that AEW is doing, that it's more of a train wreck all the time than anything else. He said a lot of the template was ECW in 1995. You didn't have the level of factions and stuff like that, but you had, some groups that were together. But a lot of the chaos and the disarray and people not getting disqualified and crazy moves, some of it is got that retro feel to it. And that's the atmosphere that a lot of people like. Plus, you do hear a little bit of vulgar language. You see people drinking. You see people giving some hand gestures. In WWE, it's very professional. Even when people are having chaos, it's more professional. Not everybody likes that. So let's get into it, shall we? AEW, hour number 1, 1,196,000 viewers. Hour 2, 1,242,000 viewers for a composite of 1,219,000 219,000. Opening quarter, the Young Bucks interview explaining their actions the week before, MJF with Mike Tyson, and the beginning of the Young Bucks versus Rey Fenix and Pac. That first quarter hour did 1,190,000 viewers. Pretty much what the average was for hour one. The second quarter, which was the remainder of the Young Bucks versus Rey Fenix and Pac, that second quarter went up 36,000 viewers to 1,226,000. The third quarter, which was the Dark Order backstage segment with Adam Page, Chris Jericho, the Inner Circle, and Mike Tyson showing up, telling Jericho, I'm going to call it down the middle, but if you do anything, I'm going to knock you out. And about 3/4 of Jade Cargill versus Red Velvet. That whole quarter hour dropped 33,000 viewers to 1,193,000. Quarter four, the finish of Jade Cargill versus Red Velvet, Britt Baker's interview, and his match with Cole Carter, that dropped 20,000 viewers to 1,173,000. So far, they were pretty steady, even with this younger stars. Can't complain. Chris Jericho versus Dax Harwood, Mike Tyson, ringside enforcer. That quarter, which was quarter five, increased 177,000 viewers to 1,350,000. That was the highest quarter hour for the entire night. 1,350,000. Impressive. Quarter six, which was Chris Statlander versus Amber Nova, and that promo of Team Taz. This was right before Christian came out for his interview. That quarter hour dropped 109,000 viewers to 1,241,000. So even though they dropped 109,000, the quarter before they increased 177. So they kept 70,000 of those viewers. So that's not bad. Quarter number 7, the confrontation of Team Taz, Christian, Will Hobbs attacking Christian, and the introductions for Darby Allin versus Matt Hardy. That dropped 71,000 viewers to 1,170,000. So when you realize it, the rest of the viewers that they maintained the quarter before, they lost it with Will Hobbs and Christian. And the final quarter of the night, oh, and by the way, that quarter hour, Christian and Will Hobbs, lowest quarter of the whole night. Just saying, not trying to stir anything up. The main event, Darby Allin versus Matt Hardy, that did 1,205,000 viewers, an increase of 35,000. So not too bad, not too bad. So 1,219,000 is the average. So here we go. Quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, quarter four, quarter five, quarter six, quarter seven, quarter eight. So they pretty much had their, gradual increase and gradual decrease. NXT, interesting. Here we go. Hour number one, 778,000. This sounds more like AEW when they went head to head with NXT. Hour one, 778,000 viewers. Hour two, 832,000 viewers for a composite of 805. The opening quarter, which was a recap of NXT TakeOver and Karrion Kross's interview in the ring with Scarlett, that opened up 807,000 viewers. The composite was 805. So the opening quarter was right spot on with the average for the whole night. Not high, not low, right? Average, which is fine. Quarter two, MSK versus Killian Dane and Drake Maverick. You know the vibe. We talked about it. That dropped 59,000 viewers to 748,000. Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, that segment where they were going in a hospital and all you heard was sound being piped in. I'm going to effing kill you and beeps and this and that. And Adam Cole just cursing him out. Kind of remind me of Rocky 2. Remember the opening of Rocky 2 when Apollo Creed and Rocky Balboa went to the hospital in their beds? I think Rocky even wheeled into Apollo's room. Did you give me your best? Hey, hey. I see, I can't do it tonight. Hey, Apollo. Hey, yo, Apollo. See, I got to be in the frame of mind. But reminded me of that. That segment, Mercedes Martinez confronting Robert Stone, Jesse Camille, and Aaliyah. That quarter hour, which was quarter hour 3, increased only 14,000 viewers to 762,000. Now, Santos Escobar versus Kushida, and then that interview with Timothy Thatcher and Tommaso Ciampa, that quarter hour increased 96,000 viewers to 892,000. That match of Kushida versus Santos Escobar was by far the best quarter hour of the night. 892, which is, I'm very happy about that because Santos Escobar has not popped great numbers. Kushida, neither. But it was, you think it might be more of who they were facing. I mean, Santos Escobar versus Jake Atlas at that time was horrendous, the numbers that would come in. So good to see Kushida and Santos Escobar pull 892. That's a nice number. Dakota Kai, Raquel Gonzalez, Bianca Belair in the ring, Frankie Monet making her debut, and then that hype for Saray coming in, that did 888,000 viewers. It only dropped 4,000. And if you really want to get technical about it, after the 3 women were in the ring, that's when you saw the drop-off. So the quarter hour was pretty much the same as the one before. So, again, very solid 2 quarters for NXT. Unfortunately, and I tell you, I feel a little bad for these guys. Leon Ruff versus Isaiah Swerve Scott. These guys could kill each other in the ring, beat the living shit out of each other. And for some reason, fans do not get into them. How many times have we covered Leon Ruff and Isaiah Swerve Scott together, separate matches, and their quarter hours just drop. That quarter hour dropped 132,000 viewers to 756,000. It's that infamous quarter 7 that we always talk about. For some reason, NXT, 9 times out of 10, they put stuff in quarter 7 right before the main event. They get a big drop. How many times have I said this in the last 2-3 months? That quarter 7 gets a big drop and they never regain all their viewers. It happened again this week. That match was fire. Leon Ruff and Isaiah Swerve Scott tore it up. It still dropped 132,000 viewers to 756. The main event, which was Indy Hartwell, Candice LeRae, Austin Theory, and Johnny Gargano versus Bronson Reed, Dexter Lumis, Ember Moon, and Shotzi Blackheart. Right before their match, Walter cut a promo as well. That final quarter increased only 36,000 viewers to 792,000. So they never regained all of the viewers that they lost from quarter 7. They dropped 132, and 100,000 of them never came back for the main event. And that was it. The overrun went a little bit above 900,000, but still, you don't want people tuning in just for 4 minutes. So 805, once again, is the average. So you got quarter 1, Karrion Kross interview. So quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, quarter 5, quarter 6, quarter 7, quarter 8. Once they took that drop, that was it. So that was your quarter hours. Let's see what they do this week. Darby Allin is teasing a match against somebody in the top 5, ranking in the top 5. I don't know if they've announced the actual match yet, but that is something that I guess they're planning for Wednesday. It's pretty obvious because if you look back at the matches they had scheduled for Wednesday, there was 1 or 2 big matches that they needed to add to it because it felt very, very lackluster for a night, Wednesday night Dynamite. So, but that's pretty much it, everyone. So we've run 90 minutes. I am going to start getting out of here tonight. Little early night, but the amount of show that we did this week. We had Monday with Mish. I was here Wednesday for Wednesday night Dynamite. Covered NXT and AEW the same night. Yesterday was amazing, man. Yesterday was awesome. We had so much fun yesterday. Had some great discussions, wrestling, non-wrestling. And for my channel members, I'm going to do a Q&A on Sunday. I set up a voicemail. And now for the channel members, if you want to leave a question for me to cover on the Q&A, now you can actually leave a voicemail. And, just check the post that I put earlier on YouTube. And you can now leave a voicemail message. And, unless you don't want me to do it, I will play your voicemail on the show. And that'll mix it up a little bit. I had a lot of you, because I have a Patreon as well. And the Patreon is not just myself and Mish, but Kev Castle still does his shows there too. And, the page is, a little bit of everything for everyone. This week I put up retro episodes, started putting up retro episodes. I got a catalog, goes back to 1999. I put it up there, and I had a ton of you on YouTube say, put it up there as a feature for members also. So I can't just put audio only on YouTube, but I can do it like what Cornette does. Just have one picture graphic, because for those that don't know about my history, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing, I started doing a wrestling hotline in 1997. And from 1997 to 2020, everything I did was audio only. And the older the shows go, the worse the audio quality gets. You listen to the shows 2003, 2004, when DTKC started in 07 or 08, somebody's using a telephone, a cordless phone. I had no mixer. So the older the shows get, the more primitive the audio gets. But a lot of you asked me to put the retro stuff here as well. So I'm going to start working on that. And, like I said, because it's audio only, you'll just see one graphic, but you'll be able to listen to it. And I definitely need to go through them. Not Peacock style. I'm not going to start censoring everything. But if there's a little word here and there that I think for 2021 standards should get a beep, I'm going to add a beep to it. So I don't think anybody's going to complain. But, that's pretty much it. So much love to you, Neil Ray, and everyone. I hope you had a fun time tonight. Post your feedback, and I respond to it. I responded to almost everybody yesterday. I know we didn't do timestamps on Wednesday. I'm not going to lie to you. I did not go back through the show, even though it was pretty much 2 recaps. So the timestamp it was a little bit too much. But as soon as I'm done with this show tonight, I'm going to put timestamps on it. And James Edward, I'm going to post all that stuff when TNA with the Monday Night Wars. What I put up this week so far was the first show we did after the Chris Benoit tragedy. And you had some people calling in, and it was very interesting how people viewed Chris Benoit right after that tragedy. I mean, it's pretty surreal. I mean, the night that we did that show, that was weird. We opened up the show paying tribute to Chris Benoit, and 4.5 hours later, we were pretty much spitting on his grave, and I don't even think he was buried yet. So that was a weird night. King of Hueco is asking me, what is better, KFC or Popeyes? I don't eat either one right now because I'm on keto and I can't have bread and shit like that, regular flour. But for me, KFC all the way. Popeyes, I love. See, I'm a fan of extra crispy chicken. KFC back in the day used to have extra crispy, and that shit was epic. For some reason, the KFC by me really didn't have that extra crispy. I'm convinced 10, 15 years ago, they had a lot more batter on the chicken. But if I was not on this diet and I just wanted to pig out, I would go to Popeyes, and I would literally, this is going to sound disgusting for some of you out there, but I really did used to do this. My heavier days, and I still have a lot to lose. In my heavier days, I would go to KFC by myself. I would buy like an 8-piece, and I would eat the crispy and the skin and the crispy off of all the chicken and eat almost none of the meat. I would just eat all of the fried batter from the chicken and throw the chicken out. Potato wedges, those potato wedges were incredible. Hell, I even liked their macaroni and cheese. Their macaroni and cheese was low budget, but that shit was good too. So, yeah, I know, look, I'm sure all of us out there have some eating habits, that we may not be all that proud of, or a little bit, piggy, but there's anybody that's ever done that, you have to admit, although not healthy at all and probably definitely took days off of our overall lifespan, but watching a little bit of like late night shit, wrestling or sports or awesome movie, and just having a ton of chicken in front of you and you're just ripping the skin and the extra crispy, and something about it, man. Do I miss those days? Sure. But, I'm going next week for that CAT scan and ultrasound, and I'm a little nervous about that. So, hopefully it just comes back that maybe it's an undiscovered hernia. I don't know. It's very weird, and it seems to be getting worse. So we'll see. But, Popeyes I'm not throwing shade on Popeyes, but I grew up on KFC. I mean, there was many times my father would work late, and me and my mom and my brother, we would eat at like 6 o'clock at night. My father would come back 10, 11 o'clock at night, and KFC or White Castle would be the only two places that were open late. We'd be in bed already, and my father would come in, and we'd smell either White Castle or Kentucky Fried Chicken. And my mom would open our bedroom door and say, "You want to get up?" And she didn't even say why. We smelled it, and we went inside, and we would eat like a hamburger or a piece of chicken or something, and then go right back to bed. So my father used to do that a lot back in the day. He would surprise us at like midnight with mostly White Castle, but sometimes Kentucky Fried Chicken. And that's a lot of memories, a lot of great memories. So, yeah, if you got a KFC, I got to tell you something. It's not wrestling related. And I'm not trying to play race wars here. I should have brought it up yesterday, but I got to just mention it because I'm just curious if anyone out there experiences this also. Yesterday, I went to the CAT scan place, and I picked up this Omni pack. I got to drink it like an hour before I get my test done. And it's located in Laurelton, Queens, New York. Laurelton is about 20 minutes from my house. Laurelton, and I looked it up because I was curious. Laurelton is 92% black. And I'll tell you why I looked it up yesterday. It's a weird story, but I want to share it because I have a feeling when everything happened with the election and the controversy with Georgia right now, I'm curious how many of you are going to say to me, DT, that's just like my neighborhood. I have a customer that bought an umbrella policy with me, umbrella insurance. It's not insurance for an umbrella, but it's a type of insurance that gives you an extra padding of coverage in case you're ever sued, bad car accident, something like that. And the insurance company I deal with, most of their people are still working from their house. So they don't have anybody in their main office working right now. So the insurance company emails me the insurance policies and has me print them up and give it to my customers. So about a week ago, one of my customers came in and said, I never got my umbrella policy from the insurance company. And I said, I have it in the computer. They sent it to me. And the customer says, I don't want it from you. I want it from the insurance company. Is this an actual insurance company? And meanwhile, I'm saying to myself, Matarats, we still got COVID. Not everybody's back to work. The guy insisted that he wanted a policy mailed to him from the insurance company. So I said to him, the insurance company is located in Long Island. I'll put in a request and I'll get a policy sent out to you. You'll see where I'm going with this in a second about race. So I call the insurance company about a week ago and I said, look, this guy is insisting he wants the policy mailed from the insurance company. Otherwise, he's going to cancel it. He thinks that no insurance company out there at this point with the COVID still has everybody working from home. And my rep says to me, Anthony, I don't know what to tell you, but there's nobody in that office right now to mail it. So he said to me, goes, I could mail it to him and then he'll drop it in the mailbox where he lives. So I said, no, don't even worry about it. I'll figure something out. So since I knew that I had to pick this up yesterday, I said, okay. I took his envelope. I used my, I don't remember the Avery program, the Avery stickers. I printed up his name and address on a professional sticker. I took the envelope and printed the insurance company's logo on the envelope and I sealed it up. And my intention was that since I'm going out to Laurelton, which is right near Long Island, I'll pass a mailbox while I'm out there, and I'll just drop it in the mailbox there. I didn't want to drop it in the mailbox by my office because they'll see the Howard Beach postmark on it, and they'll be like, oh, you fucking mailed that. So yesterday I picked my stuff up, and it was raining out. So I said, all right, let me drive through the neighborhood and find the mailbox. I swear on my mother, I drove throughout Laurelton, Queens for 15 minutes. I drove 10 blocks this way, went 1 block over, 10 blocks this way. 10 blocks this way, could not find one mailbox. I go on the Google map thing and I say, hey, Siri, where is there a post office? So there was a post office like 7 miles away, and I dropped it off at the post office. My point is, if I drive through my neighborhood, there is a mailbox every 4 or 5 blocks. I'm not bullshitting, there is a mailbox a block from my house that I could walk to and mail something. If I drive the other way, there's a mailbox 3 blocks up. There's another mailbox 3 blocks this way. There are mailboxes everywhere in my neighborhood. I drove up yesterday 40 to 50 blocks in a neighborhood that is 92% black. Not one mailbox. 0. And again, I'm not trying to stir anything up, but I think back of the election, and I think of the controversy in Georgia, and I remember people saying that in minority neighborhoods that they were taking away mailboxes. And yesterday I was just blown away that I'm going up and down blocks, 40, 50, 60 blocks, not one mailbox on anybody's corner. And I was like, holy shit. It blew me away. And then when I went back to my neighborhood, I'm looking around and I'm like, unbelievable. I passed within like a maybe 20 block radius, maybe like 8 mailboxes. So I'm curious if anyone out there, if you in your neighborhood, you have that happening also, because I was just baffled yesterday. I mean, when I didn't see any mailboxes, I went home and I went on the computer and I Google searched. I'm like, what percentage of Laurelton is black? Because you always heard those accusations. And then it says, you can go on Google, 92%. And I was like, unbelievable. Mailboxes, CMed, in my neighborhood, they're not obsolete. I mean, I put online the video of me showing you the crash site that happened right after 9/11, right couple of 3 blocks from my parents' house. I could drive around my neighborhood tomorrow and put some of the dash cam footage online, and you'll see. I could drive 5 minutes and I'll pass 10 mailboxes. Kid you not. King of Hueco Mundo says it was a request by the community to take away the mailboxes. I can't see why that neighborhood will want to make it almost impossible to mail something. I mean, I understand you could leave mail in your mailbox and a postman could pick it up from your mailbox, but I never liked doing that because I always felt, you always hear stories of an individual mailman throwing mail away and this and that, especially if you got a little package or something. But I was just totally taken aback by that yesterday. So, man, it's crazy. It's crazy. But I just wanted to share. It was just a random thing. I was going to bring it up yesterday, and I totally forgot. But, I guess we chatted for an extra 10 minutes. So, but Keith says they don't have mailboxes in Tampa, not the old style New York mailboxes. Yeah, maybe in some other states that's the norm. My area, it's a lot different. And shout out to Joe McGee. Oh, he's in. Joe, you didn't have to do it. You should have spent it on your own food. Now you're going to make me feel bad. And if I give you a lackluster answer, you could email me, dontony@dontony.com. I'll be more than happy to PayPal you the money back. I'm not one that goes to Manhattan. When I was a teenager, me and my friends loved going to Greenwich Village up until the day that we accidentally went into a gay bar. I have nothing against anybody that's gay. I got relatives that are gay, friends. Doesn't, if you're happy, that's all that matters. When you're a teenager and, heterosexual, you're not even of drinking age yet. You walk into a gay bar, never been in something like, I went to Paradise Garage once, and that was unique, but it was a mixture. After that, it was just, it was different. But I never liked going to Manhattan. I went, if you're familiar with a TV show called The Greg Gutfeld Show, I actually went to that show in November of 2019 as a guest. And there is a restaurant in Manhattan called Ted Turner's. I think it's Ted's. It might be like Steakhouse. We went there after we went to the Greg Gutfeld show. And some of you may remember, I got to meet Tyrus, hung out with him for a few minutes. Tyrus, so cool. If he comes across as cool on TV with all the news appearances he makes, he is so mad cool in real life. I mean, just really, really cool guy. But I'm sure the Gutfeld episode is available online. You see me and my fiance about a half a dozen times during it. I tell you, they're not doing it now because of COVID, but I tell you, the setup was great, and there was only maybe like 10 rows of fans, and they had me and my fiance sitting in the back row, and we were elevated. So every time they flashed on the crowd, you could see us. But after the show was over, we went to a restaurant called Ted's. It's Ted Turner's restaurant. And it was amazing. It was amazing. They gave everybody, it was like fried pickles. And this was I on keto at the time? I think I was on keto, but I probably cheated a little bit. But they gave you fried pickles, like pickles fried in batter for free. We had like steak, onion rings, a couple other things. The food was amazing. Absolutely amazing. It's right near the Fox Studios. I don't know exactly what street it is. I'm guessing like around 40th Street, 7th Avenue. I'm just taking a wild guess. But yeah, Ted Turner has a restaurant. It's pretty legendary. In fact, I think during COVID, you had the opportunity that you could order food and they would ship it to you. But that is amazing. I'll tell you the truth. My suggestion to you is to go on OpenTable, opentable.com. You could go on Yelp, and this goes for anybody out there. You don't have to be in New York, but you go on Yelp. But Yelp and Google reviews, they are skewed. You have people out there they have friends that own like a competitive restaurant, and they will just throw shade at places. Some people will throw shade simply because they want something for free in return. Open Table seems to be a lot more legit. But if you go on Open Table, you can see all the restaurants that are available right now, and you could see what the reviews are. You just got to be really careful about prices because, there's a steakhouse. I don't know if it's Jack's Steakhouse. There's a steakhouse in Manhattan that I was going to take my fiance once. And I'm not trying to be cheap, but thank God I went online and I looked at the prices first. Oh, it was Ruth Christ's Steakhouse. Is that what it's called? I think it was something like that. And I looked at the prices and I'm like, I'm not paying $300 for a steak. I don't give a shit. I don't care. Even if I get amazing sex for it, I'm not paying that money for steak. Ted Turner's prices were extremely reasonable. But you have to be prepared. In Manhattan, you overpay for everything. If you were going to my neck of the woods, like Queens, there's a lot of great restaurants. In fact, we were talking about Jason Solomonster earlier. Jason, a couple of years ago, was looking for recommendations for a good restaurant in my area, and I recommended one particular restaurant, and he actually went and had a great time. He was literally 5 minutes from my house. So, you can find some pretty damn good restaurants. Yeah, Ruth Chris Steakhouse. I think that's what it was. I'm not paying that kind of money. Even when I went to Connecticut 2 weeks ago, Mohegan Sun, they have Michael Jordan's Steakhouse. And I went once, about 2 years ago. I'll never go there again. Their steak is overpriced. I didn't think it was very good at all. And just crazy. I mean, they have some like Wagyu steaks or something like that. That's like $400. Why would I pay $400 for a steak? You know what I mean? Like, you give me a nice burger, with some good, Applewood smokehouse bacon on it, some good cheese, fried onions. I'm content with that. But right now in Manhattan, though, because of COVID and because things have been so locked down, and even with riots, a lot of places got damaged. Some places have dropped their prices significantly because they want business. But my advice to you is go on Open Table. You could see the recent reviews, how people are reviewing the restaurants now during COVID. And you could also see what some of the prices are too. You got to be prepared because I brought this up last year. And the sad thing about it is, Harris B, Don Tony at DonTony.com. Absolutely. But, Joe, what I was going to say is, what the hell was it? Diner in my neck of the woods. I brought this up last year. Nothing has changed. There's a diner 5 minutes from my house. Every Friday, I would take my fiance, we would go there for dinner. It would be like a little date night thing. And before, like a cheeseburger deluxe that was like maybe like $9, they're now selling it for $24.75. Somebody wrote a review the other day. They bought 2 orders of chicken fingers and 2 orders of French fries, and with delivery, it was $70. They tripled their prices to try to make up for all the losses they had from COVID. Now we've had, 25, 50% capacity for a little while now. You'd think they would drop their prices a little bit because they're now starting to get back. No. Charging like this. I used to buy this big Cobb salad with bacon and avocado. Now it's like $32. I'm not paying $32 for a salad. So you got to be very careful because some places will attach COVID fees to their bill. That's why you really, especially Manhattan, you don't want to get put in a situation where, you go into a place, you sit down, and then you realize, fuck, I can't afford this. And, don't be embarrassed. You leave, so you got to be prepared. Yeah, it's price gouging, Benjamin. I mean, I understand businesses trying to recover what they lost, But, some of this is still ridiculous. It's ridiculous because you should be able to write off on your taxes your losses. And I know for a fact, like some of these places, they pay crazy ass income tax, federal and state. They could have written these losses off, but some places, there's one place that charges a 30% COVID charge. I think now New York may have relegated it that you could only charge 15% over, but some places were really doing some dick moves. And yeah, I guess if you're desperate that your place is about to shut down, if you don't get some revenue in there quickly, I guess I understand why, but that's just crazy. I mean, if I don't want to say the name of the diner. There's only 2 diners in my neighborhood, so if you do a Google search, you'll be able to figure it out because all you got to do is look at both their menu prices and you'll see it. But if you want a cup of coffee, it's like $4.20. It used to be like $1.10 before. If you want cheese, like on a hamburger, they charge you $2.50 for a slice of fucking cheese. So you got to be so careful, man. But I thank you very much for that kind gesture, that super chat. As far as activities, I think tomorrow it's supposed to be 60 over here, and that's very brisk. But, there's nothing like walking around the city. You're around the Empire State Building. You walk around Times Square. I mean, you'll have fun. Just walk. I mean, you got to be careful because of COVID still. But the crowds are nothing like before. But you also got to be careful, and I'm not trying to scare you, but you got to be careful with protests too. If anybody wants to do a Google search about this, and you'll know this story as soon as I say it. You type in Howard Beach, New York, Black Lives Matter. Just do a Google search on that. You'll see the story. There's a woman that lives 4 blocks away from me. She lives down the block from where my brother lived. My brother recently moved. But she lives 4 blocks away from me. And anybody that's tuning in, even if you live in a different country, you've probably heard about this story. Last year in the fall, there was a woman driving in Manhattan, and she got stuck at a traffic light, and her car got surrounded with Black Lives Matter protests. She's a white woman, Italian woman. She was in the car with her daughter, and she got very, very scared. And they started climbing onto her car. So she hit the gas. One of the guys that was on her car rolled off the car. She got stuck. There was a cop car very nearby. They ran after her car, and the cop arrested her for what she did. Now, me personally, with everything that's going on, taking off is the worst thing you could do. Anybody on your car, I understand you're trying to defend yourself and everything like that, but I support a lot of the causes. And if it's for the right reasons, I'm yelling with you. But she, in the car with her daughter, got scared and hit the gas. I don't agree with it. I don't disagree. I'm just telling you the story. And she got arrested, and it was all over the news. And now they, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, sold their house, and they moved. Nobody has any idea where they moved to. Because after that, there were death threats to her husband. They doxed her information online. You could pull her street address online. They found her phone number, put it online. People were showing up at her house, throwing eggs at her house, and that's it. Their life is, fucked for the rest of their life. And, it's such a bad situation. And, you could blame bad cops for a lot of the shit that goes on. My point is, with Manhattan, you got to be a little bit careful. Understand your surroundings. If I go to Manhattan with my car and I go through an area that I know there's been protests and people start chanting by my car, I have to be prepared to get out of the car and chant with them and show that I support what they do. I can't be like, because there's a lot of tough people online. Oh, anybody jumps on my car, I'll fucking do it. No, you're not. You're not. You got to just be very, very careful. Be very careful. There's a lot of tension going on in this world, and, it just sucks. What happened to that 13-year-old kid? Yeah, he shouldn't have had a gun, and he shouldn't have been running away from cops. And unfortunately, there is no handbook when you're in a gang at 13 years old, like what to do if approached by a cop. He got killed. He got killed. And right now, when you're a cop, you have to really make sure that you're convinced that your life is flashing before your eyes before you take any action. And I'm with people out there. They should seriously consider having rubber bullets. Having rubber bullets. You have, a gun with rubber bullets. Of course, there's going to be a situation where you have no choice. But that's why, man, I passed the police exam in, 1991? I chose not to be a cop. I'm glad that I never became a cop because I don't know how I would handle this right now. It sucks that every cop is now labeled a certain way, but you just, in this day and age, you got to be so careful. And one careless move just sets everything back. And this guy that killed George Floyd, what's his name again? Derek Chauvin. They're going to probably have the verdict on Monday. Me personally, he's got to go to jail. And he's got to go to jail for about 20 years, minimum. Whatever happens, there's going to be chaos. And, it's just, there are a lot of cops that have really bad egos. Trust me. I remember a guy, I told you this a long time ago. He wanted to be a cop because he wanted that authority, that adrenaline rush. He got like aroused, like chasing people and this and that. And, like at the time, it was just like, all right, well, he's an adrenaline junkie. And as you get older, you realize, man, it's just something not right about that, man. So, yeah, I know he's looking at 40 plus years, but he's got to go to jail at least 20 to 30 years. You get 40 years, you could get time off for good behavior and everything, but 20 to 30 years minimum. Like I said, I watched those 4 camera angles a couple of weeks ago, and that was rough, man. I watched that one cell phone footage that time. When you watch the 4 camera angles, that guy, it just felt like when you had that fighter, I think he was training for like UFC or something, and he's standing there with the group of people, and he's like, yo, I know that move. You're choking him. And it almost looked like this prick, this Derek Chauvin, was like, oh, yeah? And it seemed like, like just sticking it a little more, You couldn't tell, but, the more people were telling him, like, you're killing him, he can't breathe and this and that. Like, the more you got into his face yelling at him, the less of a chance he was going to let go. And that's just, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. Then you had some asshole the other day saying, oh, he could have died from carbon monoxide poisoning. I understand why they have to put on a defense, but there's no excuse for what happened. No excuse. But Brian Alex says he thinks there's going to be a race war soon. Brian, there's a race war for quite a few years already. It's terrible. It's terrible. I don't like where I live anymore. I go to Connecticut. It's a different story. You're around Asian. Look how Asians are being treated right now. But you're around Asians, black, white, Spanish, Japanese, every nationality, and everybody gets along. And it's just such a really nice atmosphere. It's just too expensive to live over there. But, yeah, it's been going on for a while now, and I don't know if it's going to ease up anytime soon. But, like I say, focus on yourself and focus the people close around you. Your neighbors, your family, your friends, people online, even people you don't know. Just treat people like you want to be treated. That's the best you could do. I'm not going to be able to change this country. You're not going to be able to change this country. Nobody's going to listen to us. So we should worry about our surroundings. I treat everybody like I want to be treated. And like I said, even with the Twitter stuff, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. Even with the releases, as ridiculous as that sounds, you have people out there who are passionately angry about WWE releasing all these people, that it's fucked up and this and that, and then literally hours later, are there any other releases yet? Anybody else get released? Like drooling, like just waiting for it. I'm like, man, it's everything is upside down right now. But and like I said, you're gonna realize in about 2-3 months, when this virus gets a little bit more under control and the pandemic is over, you're going to find out that everybody who is vaccinated did not need to go to the extent right now of 6 feet social distancing, wearing masks, wearing this. Yes, you could still get COVID in some capacity, even if you've been fully vaccinated. But there is 100% chance that you won't have to go to the hospital. They found out that these blood clots that are going on, that there was a secondary medicine people were taking that clashed with it. You're going to find out that all of this extra mask, look, it's better to be safe than sorry. And honestly, I don't give a shit about wearing a mask right now. I wear it every day. I don't ever feel like, oh, let me take it off. I'm fully vaccinated. But you're going to realize that they kept things locked down a lot worse, not because it was a health risk for people who are vaccinated, but they realized that if vaccinated people start living their lives normal again, people who are not vaccinated are going to see that and say, fuck that. If they're allowed to do it, I'm allowed to do it. And that's why things are happening right now the way they are. Take note, they never ask point blank, can I still transmit the vaccine? What's the percentage of it? What do the studies tell you? Do they ever tell you? No. It's a fucked up world right now. That's why if wrestling is your escape, if sports, hobbies, playing video games, if those are your escapes, enjoy them. Working, cleaning, building something, that's your escape. Just enjoy them and focus on them. It'll help you get through these times. Because, yeah, that FedEx shooting as well. You heard that, I think it was a 19-year-old kid, and he was an ex-employee. And, there's a lot of shootings going on. The problem is there's 300 million guns in the United States. 300 million. You could ban anything you want. Cocaine has been banned for, what, decades and decades and decades? If I want an 8-ball, I call a couple of people and get it in 2 seconds. You mean if I want to take somebody out, and I don't mean to dinner, and I can't get a gun for whatever reason, you mean to tell me I can't call Vinny Boomba and tell him, hey, Vinny, I need a gun? Come on. You could pass, and I agree. Look, as crazy as this sounds, because some people find it weird that I have these views, I don't think we need assault weapons. I don't think so. I mean, if I'm going hunting, I don't need something that could take out 20 deer. I don't think assault weapons are needed. I think if you cannot have that many, bullets in a chamber, it forces you to reload. And those couple of extra moments forcing you to reload, since you can't have a magazine with 40 rounds, that might be the difference of somebody jumping on your ass and maybe saving lives. I'm one of those that don't. But the problem is you got 300 million guns out there. And then this idea, well, we got to worry about mental illness. Anybody that blows someone away has something wrong up here. So I don't know how you resolve it. I don't know how you resolve it. But I will tell you this, forcing this narrative that everybody who supported Trump is a racist, that if you're a cop, you're a racist. If you're a white person, it's white privilege. You do that, that just creates more friction and more hatred and more anger and people feeling, you never justify bad behavior with other bad behavior. And now, you see people, being rewarded. There's just a lot of crazy shit going on. That's why, like I say, I really don't follow politics anymore. I pay very close attention about the virus and other things because, I don't want to get infected. I don't want to get my family infected. We're all vaccinated, but still, And again, I'll leave you with this. When you hear, I will say this though, when you hear a lot of states or the government saying that the vaccine is racist because minority neighborhoods don't have the same access to the vaccine as better neighborhoods. I can't speak for other states, but I could tell you for New York State, that is the biggest pile of bullshit that I've ever heard, because I live 10 minutes away from Brooklyn, New York, and I set up COVID appointments for 92 people. It was 91 up until today. I got somebody an appointment today. And they set up vaccination sites in Brooklyn, and they were by zip code, which means that you only could live in certain zip code to go to this location. And the zip code was 1123 whatever, and that's Brooklyn. And this was a big community center. They did press releases with Cuomo that they have 20,000 vaccines and everything, and other places were sold out. And even though I live 10 minutes away, if I wanted to, I couldn't get vaccinated there. And do you know that everywhere else, the vaccine was sold out and gone, but that community center still had thousands and thousands and thousands of appointments. The fact is, a lot of minority neighborhoods do not trust the vaccine, do not trust the government, especially that for months they were fed that Trump is forcing this, and this is careless, and this is that, and I don't trust the vaccine, and this and that. And just because Trump is no longer president, people realize the same scientists are involved. Fauci is still involved. All the people. So there is a trust issue. It's not an availability issue, because I could, if I'm forced to, I'll start name dropping some of these locations in Brooklyn, in Jamaica, Queens, in Far Rockaway, that have thousands of appointments still available, and they can't fill it because the neighborhood doesn't want it. That's the truth. That's the truth. That's why I turned the news off. I could care less about Biden. I could care less about Trump. I could care less about Cuomo, de Blasio. I could care less about Rubio, DeSantis. All I care about is me, my fiance, my family, my friends, my hobbies, my health, and all of you. No bullshit. That's enough for me. So, yeah, Rep says that's why it's so good to... Yeah, there's a lot of wrestling discussion still going on. Charlie... No, it's Rep, actually. WWE does care about their talent. Their wellness program, they take very serious. They do care about their talent. But they're not your mommy and your daddy. And I'm not sticking up for them. But WWE cares about their talent, but it's a business at the end of the day. It's not personal. And if you get very close with executives there and you still get let go, I thought we were buddies. I thought we were tight. I thought you were looking around it. Look at Gerald Briscoe. Gerald Briscoe worked for Vince for how many decades? Was his right-hand man? You mean to tell me that Gerald Briscoe was demanding crazy money? Gerald Briscoe, the amount of money that he was being paid, I think some people are getting more in unemployment. Still, they let him go because they don't need him anymore. So WWE does care about their employees, but their employees, we get personal because of social media. You learn their family, their background, how they get along. They socialize. They're really genuinely wonderful people, a lot of people. Billie Kay is a great example of that. But at the end of the day, it's an entertainment company. It's not your mommy and daddy. And these people with the selective outrage, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But again, social media, you see Roman Reigns' shirt, acknowledge me. I would pop beyond belief if there was ever a backstory to that was based on people on social media, because that's what it is. Acknowledge me. When someone tweets 90 times about, and I'm exaggerating, but 90 times about a topic they say that they don't want to have anything to do with, acknowledge me. If I don't like AEW, but I tweet 30 times every Wednesday night about it, acknowledge me. If I don't want to have anything to do with a particular story, but I have to tweet to tell you that I don't want to talk about a particular story, acknowledge me. If it's my birthday and nobody's wishing me happy birthday, and I put in a tweet that, wow, it's great weather for my birthday, acknowledge me. Like, people throw shit out there. Acknowledge me, acknowledge me, acknowledge me, acknowledge me, acknowledge me. That's what it's about. And it's sad because you didn't need COVID for this, but you've heard me say it for years now. There's a lot of people who traded in actual life for the acknowledgement online. And it's sad, but not everybody is like that. But again, these WWE releases, at the end of the day, it's a business. It's a business. And stockholders and all these financial experts, all these finance shows will laugh you out of the building if they discovered that you kept people on payroll because it was the right thing to do. They're an entertainment company. All right? If you're in a different field and you could use someone in a different department, you move them to a different department. You do have some people in WWE that do a lot of YouTube stuff, that work behind the scenes, that do production, that do this, that do that don't necessarily wrestle as much on TV anymore. But there are some people that they really don't have another place for. And it's a business. It's a business. It's cold sometimes, but that's how a business runs. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here. I'm shocked with all that extra talk, which was about 45, 50 minutes of, that was still a little under 2.5 hours. So it was fun. I like having straight up convo with all of you like this. But I'm going to get out of here. It's 12:30 in my neck of the woods. It's the weekend, but I still got to get up early tomorrow. But as I requested before, if you don't mind, on the way out, if you can hit that like button, hit that thumbs up, that'll tell YouTube that you enjoyed the show. And like, share, subscribe. And I'll be back here Monday night with Mish for Breakfast Soup Raw. We'll see what happens. Now the thing is retribution. Drew McIntyre wants an explanation from MVP. We'll see where it goes, man. I keep an open mind, but I'm not feeling Monday's Raw. Asuka is going to be taking on Charlotte. Now, Rhea Ripley is going to get involved and probably attack Charlotte, causing the DQ. You could see this a mile away. We're going to get Adam Pearce come out and announce something. And it's going to be the same shit. So, but hopefully it's a good show. But, and again, for my YouTube channel members, I will do a Q&A on Sunday afternoon. So leave your questions on the thread that I posted. If you want to leave a voicemail, it's there too. And I'm also going to be posting how we're going to deal with this predictions contest from WrestleMania, because we have 3 people who actually all tied to win. We only have one Ultimate Warrior Hulk Hogan photo. So I'm going to give them a couple of options how they could fight it out to see who actually gets the prize. So far, they've been cool. Everybody, no rush. They know the photo's in a safe place. But I would like to officially announce the overall winner. So it's my mistake for not doing a tiebreaker. And yes, I hope Keith Lee does return. Very unfair, some of the shit that was said about him over the last month or two. A lot of people have no idea about what was going on with him medically. And again, it's not for me to put it out there. He will put it out there. But people are going to realize that all this, Vince has had a change of view on Keith. So far from the truth, you have no idea. But we'll see. Hopefully he'll return soon. But Juan, I think Roderick Strong is probably SmackDown bound. But I also said yesterday, I could see him as a free agent. I could see him possibly doing a match on Raw. The only problem is you don't have a GM for Raw and a GM for SmackDown. So it's different. It would have been good if he wrestled on Raw, maybe against AJ Styles or somebody, Jeff Hardy or somebody, impress that GM, but then shows up on SmackDown because he's a free agent, and he impresses the GM there, and, he fight over. So, you got people on both shows that Roderick Strong would fit very well with. And look, it's not official that he's going to the main roster, but I think it has to. So we'll see what happens. But, yeah, that's pretty much it. Charlie Conway, I don't have any answer with the guns, man. I don't have any answer. I think the only thing you could do is toughen the laws. Toughen the laws. You got to do more extensive background checks. If you get caught with a gun that's unlicensed, bigger jail time. You get caught twice. There's got to be stricter laws. And there's got to also be some tougher laws for cops, that do the wrong thing. I mean, you don't want to scare cops out of being cops, but you also got to really, like I said, if a cop has a history of complaints, there should be a website that everybody could have access to that could see the records. Like we hear this Derek Chauvin guy was an asshole and have many complaints against him. There should be an easily accessible website that docs not his home information, but put all out there, all of his history of complaints. And if it's out there and these officers know that shit will get out there and exposed, it might make them think twice before being an asshole, So, but unfortunately, I'm not in those positions and nobody is going to take my advice. So that's why, like I said, I just worry about us. So, all right, everybody, I'm going to get out of here. Have a great night. Have a great weekend. And I will catch you either Sunday for the Q&A for the members or Monday after Raw with Mish. So have a great night, everyone. Much love as always. And thank you for hanging out tonight. Been great as always. Fun 2.5 hours. And we'll do it again on Monday. So thank you, everybody. Be well. Take care.